Welcome to Saturday versus Sunday. I'm Jeff Dover. With me is John Barbin. Let's talk football.
Yeah, this is going to be our college. What are we at? Week 7 preview. God, I can't believe now we're moving into the second half of the season. It's so depressing.
Week 7, Canadian Thanksgiving. Not quite the celebration that it will be in American Thanksgiving in November, but still some good games.
Yeah, a lot of people in America don't even know we have one.
Yeah,
it's like the Fisher Price version of
it's a little different.
Yep. Yeah, it's not as big of a deal, that's for sure.
No, but it's a little different, and but we still like it. And something else we like is for you to like and subscribe to the video and the content. We really appreciate it.
Yep,
it helps out the channel.
Yep. All right. Well, my list I don't think is as big as yours, so why don't you get started?
Sure, I'm going to start. So, first game of our NCAA Week 7 that I'm going to be looking forward to watching is South Carolina at Alabama. Alabama coming off a horrendous loss, one of the biggest upsets in the history of college football. South Carolina is not exactly a team you want to take lightly. Like they absolutely have the talent to come up and bite you. The fact that it's at Alabama makes a huge difference. This is not a must-watch game for me. It's just something I'm interested to see. This is when Kalen DeBoer is going to make his money, because that was a historic loss last week, and how they respond, how the team responds, is going to say a lot. So I'm going to get some eyes on this one at the high noon on Saturday Eastern.
Yeah, Malachi Moore's embarrassing reaction to losing that game. I even said it. I'm like, are people going to view this as an indictment of DeBoer versus Saban? I saw a few people in comment sections, various around the internet, saying that this would have never happened under Saban's watch. Not that they can't lose, but have a guy act like such a sore loser. So
very good point.
That, they need to look right in this game. That's for sure.
No, for sure.
Right. So normally for me, for the past number of years, the best game every year has been the Red River Shootout. So I'm just assuming it'll be good this year too. I don't think it really matters that one team is ranked much higher than the other. This game seems to work out to be really entertaining. Also, it just looks good. Like at the time of day in the Cotton Bowl at the fair and all of that stuff. It just, I don't know, this game last year's was outstanding. It was the best game of the year last year. So hopefully it can live up to that again this year. Obviously people are going to think Texas is going to win this, but it's not. This game doesn't go the way I think the odds makers expect it to go.
Yeah, it's no, you're right. This is totally one of the must-watch games of the weekend. You're right about they think Texas is going to win because they're 14.5-point favorites, which feels a bit like a lot because I think Oklahoma's defense is good, and it's a neutral site. I mean, it'll be half Texas, half Oklahoma fans there. And Oklahoma, their only loss was to Tennessee back when they were playing really good. So they're not a bad. I think they're better than this. I think this is going to be a really good game. I'll be really surprised if it's like the old Red Rivalry games where it ends up being like 55-60 and stuff like that. The over-under right now is 49.5, the total. So they don't think it's going to be high scoring as much like it has been in the past. So, which is surprising. So I feel like that's what it always looks like. But
Dover, we made the mistake of taking the under in this game.
That was a mistake I regretted so much, especially for every minute in the second half when it already hit the over and then just kept going. Like it wasn't like you just missed it. It wasn't like a bad beat. It was like it was horrendous.
We missed it by 35 points. It was God, it was bad.
Yeah, I don't know that one was terrible. But no, and like you said, in the fair is always fun. I like how they always bring up like hey, have you ever tried a deep fried Oreo and stuff like that? But anyway, that'll be a good game. It's a great game, great location, and there's two good teams going at it.
All right, what do you got?
All right, so next one is Penn State at USC. So this continues every Big Ten game against USC always reminds me of a bowl game. It just seems weird that Penn State and USC are playing in the regular season, but that's fine. We've said that for the last couple of weeks. But to me, this is sneaky important for USC. They could end up with 3 losses here, like at this point in the season, if they lose this game. Penn State's going to be favored. Penn State, the USC's defense, someone has to win, right? USC's defense is not good. Penn State's doesn't exactly have an explosive offense. So I'm wondering to see which one of those, can pull it off. on Saturday.
Yeah, this is strength against strength and weakness against weakness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
So it's
yeah,
an interesting,
it's
interesting coordinator matchup.
something oddly has to give. And my memory of this matchup is outstanding Rose Bowls,
Yeah,
just utterly
exactly.
outstanding Rose Bowls. Like the
Yeah.
last, man, was it Barkley? That last, oh God,
Ooh.
they've played some awesome Rose Bowls. So this one's gonna look really good.
Yeah.
So
No, that's a good. You're right about the Rose Bowls. Those
yeah.
were fantastic.
So we have to put the obvious one: Ohio State, Oregon. This is as big as it's going to get all year.
Hmm.
It's Ohio State. I haven't had too much eyes on them. They've just been crushing people. So I don't know that they've really been challenged much at all. They had a little bit of a struggle there, a little bit with Iowa's defense for the first half of the game, which kind of is reasonable. Iowa's going to do that no matter who it is. They're going to
Hmm.
put up some resistance, but then Ohio State eventually just pulled away, and it was no problem. So Oregon, I don't know if this is a bigger test for Oregon. Maybe expectation wise, it seems like a bigger test because they have looked a little shaky, whereas I don't think Ohio State's looked shaky at all. So this is somebody's going to exert themselves as what will look like the best team in the country after this game.
Yeah, the last 4 games, Oregon's averaged like 34 or 35 points a game. So that's what I'm going to be interested to see what they look like against Ohio State's defense, who is also very good. So I expect Ohio State to score. I think Oregon's defense is good, but that's the matchup I'm really interested in seeing is Oregon's offense against Ohio State's defense. And the fact that it's at Oregon makes it really interesting. If this was at Ohio State, I'd be a little more worried for Oregon, but I think at Oregon at a night game, I think they can. I expect them to hang with them. This should be a really good game.
Oh, there's a little bit of a body clock issue there then for Ohio State if it's a night game.
Yeah, I mean it'll feel like 4:30 their time instead of 7:30 p.m., right? So I mean it's not it'd be worse if it was a noon game at Oregon because that would feel like 9 a.m. So
Right.
it's not the later game isn't terrible.
Yep.
So
All right, what do you got?
okay, so the next one is the Ole Miss LSU happening at the same time, 7:30 Eastern at Baton Rouge. The Ole Miss is they got a get right game against South Carolina last week, but they lost to Kentucky the week before, and so the confidence really felt shaken. I feel like in the fan base, if you're an Ole Miss fan, and so this is a game that you would have had circled. It's important for them to show up. It's important for them to look good. Not just you sort of really can't handle a blowout at this point. So I think that's going to be a really good game. At Death Valley at night is a really tough place to play. But LSU just lost the first game of the season, but they've rolled through the 4 straight wins, and this is going to be their first real test, I think, of the season. So I'm interested to see what old LSU looks like, and if Ole Miss is the team that everyone hoped that they could beat.
Yeah, my last time I really was paying attention to LSU was that South Carolina game where I think they should have lost. So both of these teams have a little bit to prove. Like it's LSU's should be maybe better than how they've been showing up in some of these games. Ole Miss that last game that Kentucky game was just bad. It was just bad.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody here's got to exert themselves. So this to me is a must-watch game. It was already on my list.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just an obvious must-watch game. Both of these teams are expected to be in contention for the playoffs for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And preseason, a lot of people, their sort of dark horse sexy pick was Ole Miss for the SEC. I don't think that's possible. They might be in the running for an at-large bid at best.
Yeah, these are going to be important playoff games coming later, right? So
So, and then I got Kansas State at Colorado. Kansas State gets the love on the t-shirt for the preview show.
Yeah.
They're moving towards the head of the pack in the Big 12, but Colorado, that last game was really impressive as a conference, a good conference win. And that's the first time Colorado looked complete in all phases and just kicked the crap out of a team. And it wasn't the rely on some wild passes and Travis Hunter to survive the game. Like they didn't survive this game. They just exerted their will on another team, which honestly, I never thought they could do that the way they did it against UCF. So if you use that, I guess it's a 1-game sample size, but if you use that performance and if that's what they're capable of, they're capable of beating Kansas State if they show up like that.
Yeah. And that's a great point because that last game, Colorado looked like a completely different team. They looked like the offensive and defensive line play were significantly better than they have been all season, and they really manhandled the UCF. So this is a great litmus test because Kansas State is one of the best coach teams in the NCAA. Like what they do on offense and they're never out of position. They're never like their things are always well blocked, either on offense and defense. So you can't this Kansas State would be the type of team that would kill the old Colorado. So I'm interested to see which Colorado shows up this time. If it looks like the UCF with the strong line play, or if it's back to the Colorado that lost to Nebraska that is literally just YOLO balls with Sanders. So that's because you can't mess around with K-State because they'll take it to you if you're wrong.
I don't. Has Colorado played a quarterback as fast as Avery Johnson? I know KJ Jefferson's a dual threat, but he doesn't have that kind of speed.
Yeah, let's check with the stats group.
You know what? Maybe that's a dumb question because does any quarterback have that kind of speed?
Listen, it's the most mobile quarterback they've played. I think we feel comfortable saying that because they played UCF, which was, and he's big but not super mobile. The Baylor, Colorado State, Nebraska. Raiola is still young but hasn't really moved all that much.
And then Avery Johnson's kind of speed,
and then North Dakota State. So so this would be the most mobile quarterback they've seen.
Yeah, so this is a massive test for Colorado.
Yeah,
I guess if both of them come up with their A game, K-State should win. Is the way I would. That's the final statement I'll make on that game.
Yeah.
All right, what else you got?
Last one on my list is Florida, Tennessee, because Tennessee needs a get-right game. It's at Tennessee. Florida is the defense is not bad, so I'm interested to see which Tennessee shows up for this one. If it's going to be the lightning fast, put up lots of points, people moving in space type of Tennessee, or is it going to be the offense that really struggled with it? Has Arkansas given us the blueprint on how to beat Tennessee, right? Because Florida's got coaches too, and they can look at that and see if that's something they'd want to use the same game plan for that, or if it's going to be the old Tennessee. This would have, prior to last week, this would have been a Tennessee favored by, a dump truck worth of points. Now it's just Tennessee by 16, which seems sneaky low. So yeah, right. So that's what the Arkansas game has done. So it's I want to see which Tennessee shows up for this one.
Yeah, Tennessee's lucky this one's in Tennessee. I'm not saying Florida's by any means a world-beating team this year, but for a get-right game, it's good that they have it at home.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. For a get-right game, that's similar with the Alabama-South Carolina thing, right? Like it's an important get-right game, but that it feels way different when it's at home versus having to get right on the road.
Yeah, that's the last game I had as a note here. Not because we're Florida alum, it's mostly Tennessee as one of the top teams dropping that game to Arkansas. Can they bounce back and look like the team people think they were? You know what's interesting? As this season is unfolding, this murderer's row schedule, the hardest schedule in the history of college football that Florida has, it's not looking like that anymore. Tennessee dropping a game that and being utterly handled right before playing Florida sort of takes a little bit of that juggernaut feeling off of Tennessee. And you can at least see the conversation saying, Nico is just a rookie, that sort of thing. And then FSU just being horrendous takes all the bite out of that game at the end of the season. So at least, I guess it would feel different from a perspective of how powerful, of how brutal Florida's schedule is if Tennessee just blasted Arkansas last week.
Right.
So just a perception thing.
I'll give you that. It's still a top 10 matchup. But what's left on Florida's schedule is Georgia, Texas, LSU, and Ole Miss. So that, granted, the first half of the schedule was not, they still lost to Miami and Texas A&M, and that they look like they've got 4-5 significantly challenging games coming up at the end. And then the Florida State, the big rivalry game is going to be solely for pride, is the way it's setting up.
All right. So when you say it that way, this is still an awful schedule. But I guess
when I list the people on the schedule, it does sound bad.
Yeah, really, really bad. So I don't know. That wasn't a great take by me.
Yeah, but it's all good.
I guess all I'm saying is now someone has shown there's some cracks in the armor on Tennessee.
That's what I mean. That's why the game's on my list, right?
Yeah.
Because Tennessee looked pedestrian against Arkansas. Now, was it just a bad game, or did they really script something up that put Tennessee in a bad position? Because if
And,
the
yep.
because Florida is going to try to come out and do the same thing, like with
And,
whatever
and,
Arkansas did.
and Ole
So
Miss, there's cracks in Ole Miss's
yes,
armor now
yeah,
too.
exactly.
So, Kentucky and Arkansas did Florida a big favor to at least have some film on how to control those two
Mm-hmm.
teams. I don't know if Florida has the personnel to control them the same way they did. I don't think they have Kentucky's personnel and style to actually do that, but there's a game plan on how to beat both of those teams now, at least. And if there's even a remote resemblance of the talent on Florida versus, because Florida has some talent there, right?
Yeah, they do.
So if they have any, if Napier, I mean, I still don't think Napier is going to last, but if he has any thought of, can we capture any of what Arkansas did in any of what Kentucky did? So it's, I don't know. I guess nobody really wants to hear about Florida right now, but Tennessee has to win this game, and it has to look good
Yeah,
after how
exactly.
easily, I don't want to say easily, but how well
How bottled up
Arkansas
they looked against
bottled
Arkansas.
right up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I
So
don't think Florida can do that, but they better show up here.
yeah, you don't want we don't need to see if you're a Tennessee fan, you don't want to see a bottled up Tennessee at home against Florida.
No, if Florida can do any of what Arkansas did, now all of a sudden you've got two teams that are doing it, and now it seems like a map. So you're right. It's an important game for Tennessee to get back to where people think they should be. Well, that's all I got. Is there anything else you
That's
got
it for
there?
me. I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot of good games, a lot of games happening at the same time. There was that 7 p.m. slot's going to be busy because it's Ohio State, Oregon, and the Florida, Tennessee, and Ole Miss, LSU was all at the same time. So thank goodness we can record games.
Yeah, got to be either do your multi-screen, or you got to just know how to schedule your replays to get it all in. And somehow not get spoiled. That's the other thing. I just hate it when they have the scores and it spoils it.
Yeah, I know. I've been there's some channels do that less than others here, at least. Like on ABC, they didn't show as much. If there's anything on there's some of the games we get from the SEC network, and there's a rolling ticker at the bottom, which has killed me more than once.
Are we the only people that do the recording thing?
I can't imagine.
Don't
I
need
feel
to
like
know
most
the
people.
scores.
No, I feel like most people do. When it works out the best is some of the late night games, like the Kansas State game. I'm going to record and watch like Sunday morning, so I have to maintain radio silence for not check my phone until after I watch that. So.
All right. Well, let's see what happens
Looking
this
forward
weekend,
to it.
and we'll have our post weekend analysis for college on Sunday. See you then.